According to the PLHIV Stigma Index Global Report, a staggering 84.8% of people living with HIV agreed with at least one statement indicating internalized stigma. Specifically, 37.6% reported feeling ashamed of being HIV positive, as reflected in the UN AIDS Global AIDS Monitoring Key Indicator, I am ashamed that I am HIV positive. Are you wondering what internalized stigma is? Why does it happen? Let's start with the concept of stigma and find out. In 1963, Irving Goffman published the book Stigma: Notes on the Management of Spoiled Identity. This book explores the concept of stigma and how it affects individuals who are considered different by society. Stigma is defined as an attribute that is deeply discrediting. Building on Goffman's examination of the social dynamics of stigma, Parker and Aggleton, in their article HIV and AIDS-related Stigma and Discrimination, a conceptual framework and implications for action, further points out that when it comes to HIV and AIDS, stigma is a social phenomenon that produces and reproduces relations of power and control, and turns difference into inequity. So, how does internalized stigma occur? In the process of living through stigma and discrimination from the external environment, people who are stigmatized gradually believe that shame, guilt, and a deep sense of worthlessness are part of them. The internalization of stigma convinces individuals that the hate and rejection they face are somehow true or deserved, and it is often compounded by the devaluation or exclusion due to social norms, morality, certain religious values, and so on. In addition to psychological trauma, internalized stigma can ultimately make people living with HIV delay treatment, withdraw from support systems, and, in some cases, give up on their future. Diana, a young woman living with HIV, shared her heartbreaking experience. As a young woman living with HIV, I once believed what my family and friends said, that I was a source of disease because of my HIV status. They told me not to share utensils with other family members, and that I didn't deserve a boyfriend because he would fear getting HIV and leave. The more I listened to them, the more I felt like their judgment was justified, and I started to feel unworthy and full of guilt, and deserving of the stigma that surrounded me. Eventually, I isolate myself from everyone. Diana's story is not uncommon. It is the harsh reality for millions of people living with HIV across the world, let alone those facing intersectional stigma at the same time. Nisa, a single mother and sex worker living with HIV, shared her painful reality.
Offering online sex services has allowed me to feed my child. I never want her to face the harsh realities I faced, and has no choice but to earn money through sex work, a job that is still often looked down upon and not accepted by our religion. I cannot stop worrying about what my daughter and the other parents at school will think of me if they knew. I don't attend school gatherings, and I limit my daughter's relationships with kids at school so they don't find out.
Nisa's words reveal the heavy burden of shame she carries, not only from society, but also the religious judgment within herself. She feels trapped by the stigma of her work and HIV status, believing that she is unworthy of love, respect, and dignity. The stories of Diana and Nisa lay bare the destructive power of internalized stigma, driven by structural and cultural violence. They've come to reject themselves only because society has rejected them. The PLHIV Stigma Index demonstrates that many people living with HIV suffer the consequences of internalized stigma, struggling with isolation, rejection, and feelings of unworthiness. It creates barriers to accessing health services, including treatment, and blocks people's hope for the future. But this doesn't have to be the case. Internalized stigma will not exist if there is no stigma and discrimination out there. To fight against internalized stigma for people living with HIV, we need more education and advocacy for non-discriminatory structural and cultural policies, as well as public anti-stigma campaigns to foster inclusive environment for all. In addition, we call for investment in empowerment programs for people living with HIV. With the right peer support, mental health resources, we can build the resilience of our community. Your action today can transform lives, fostering a future where all individuals, regardless of HIV status, are respected and empowered. With evidence and understanding, let's drive real change together.